We live in a world full of noise. Everyone's shouting for attention, for validation. But how many of us are actually speaking up for what we believe in? How many of us are truly owning our voice? It's easy to hide behind silence. It's comfortable. You convince yourself that your voice doesn't matter, that someone else will speak for you. Or worse, you think you're not qualified to speak at all. I get it. I've been there. The first time I had to speak in front of a crowd, my legs were shaking so badly, I thought they might give out. I felt like I was suffocating, like the words were trapped inside my lungs, too afraid to escape. I almost turned around and ran, but something inside me whispered, "You have something to say. Don't let fear steal your voice." And guess what? When I finally opened my mouth, when I let my voice break through the tension, something magical happened. The room didn't collapse. In fact, people started listening. But the story doesn't end there. What followed that moment of courage was something I could never have predicted, because speaking up, owning my voice, unlocked the door to a world I didn't even know existed. What would it feel like if you could unlock that same door? If you could walk through it, confident in your ability to speak up, to own your voice, to share your truth with the world? That's what we're going to explore today. Because your voice, is a weapon. It's a tool that can reshape your life and the lives of those around you. The question is, will you use it? Think about the times in your life when you've been silent. Perhaps it was during a conversation where you knew you had the answer, but you stayed quiet. Or maybe you didn't speak up when something wasn't right, because you were afraid of the consequences. How did that feel? Did it feel like you were shrinking inside, like your soul was quietly begging for you to step into your power, to speak up? Now, think about the times when you found the courage to speak, when your voice rang out with confidence, when you express your thoughts and feelings without hesitation. How did that feel? I'll tell you how it feels. Liberating, empowering. When you speak, when you own your voice, you take back control of your story. You stop letting fear dictate your actions, and you begin to shape the world around you. But it's not easy. The first step is to recognize the power that lies within you. Your voice isn't just a sound. It's a reflection of your inner strength, your beliefs, your passions. And every time you speak, you strengthen that connection to yourself and to the world. But the question remains, how do you move from silence to speaking up with confidence? How do you push past the fear that holds you back? The first step is understanding why you're afraid to speak up in the first place. Let's talk about that fear for a moment. The fear that keeps you silent, keeps you in the shadows. It's something we all face at some point in our lives, and it's powerful. You're afraid of being judged. You're afraid of making a mistake. You're afraid of what people will think, what they'll say, how they'll react. You think that if you speak up, you'll be criticized, dismissed, ignored. But here's the kicker. Fear is a liar. It's an illusion, a trick that your mind plays on you to keep you safe, but also stuck. The truth is, most of the time, people aren't as focused on your words as you think. They're too busy thinking about their own insecurities, their own fears. The fear of judgment, of rejection, it's universal. And when you realize that, you'll see that the only person you need to impress is yourself. Now, imagine a world where you spoke up every single time, where you stopped holding back, where you stood tall and let your words flow freely. How different would your life be? How much stronger would your relationships be? How much closer would you be to your goals? But here's the thing, this is a simple switch. It's not just about flipping a switch and magically becoming the confident speaker you dream of. It takes practice. It takes courage. It takes vulnerability. And guess what? The moment you begin, you might fall flat. You might fumble over your words. You might feel your voice shaking. But that's okay, because it's in those moments that you're truly growing. Every word you speak, no matter how imperfect, is a step closer to owning your voice. What happens next when you choose to take that first step? What does the journey look like? I'll tell you, it's one of growth, of stumbling, of learning. But most importantly, it's one of transformation. Let me ask you something. Are you ready to stop hiding behind fear? Are you ready to stop letting your voice go unheard, your dreams unspoken? It's time to step into your power. It's time to speak up and own your voice. The world needs your voice. The people around you need your perspective, your energy, your passion. And most importantly, you need to hear your own voice to recognize that you have something valuable to contribute. Your voice is not just a tool for communication. It's a tool for change. It's your pathway to growth, to impact, and to the life you've always wanted. So, the next time you feel that knot in your stomach, the next time you hesitate to speak, remember this: you are worth hearing. Your words matter, and it's time to let the world hear them. So, I leave you with this challenge. The next time fear tries to keep you silent, speak up anyway. Take that step, even if your voice shakes, even if your heart races. Trust that you have something to say that the world needs to hear. Speak up. Own your voice. And when you do, I promise you this: everything will change. But the real question is, will you take the first step? There's a powerful quote by Jim Rohn that says, "The walls we build around us to keep sadness out also keeps out the joy." It's the same with the walls we build around our voice. We keep ourselves hidden, thinking we're protecting ourselves from judgment, from rejection, from criticism. But in doing so, we're also keeping out the very joy, connection, and opportunity that speaking up can bring. Have you ever held something in for so long that it starts to consume you? A thought, an idea, a dream, just waiting to be spoken? You hold in so tightly, afraid that if you let it out, it might break you, or worse, it might make you vulnerable. But in that silence, you're also shutting yourself off from the world around you, from the chance to be seen, to be heard, to be truly understood. And the longer you keep quiet, the harder it becomes to speak. The fear grows, the self-doubt creeps in. It convinces you that you have nothing to offer, that your words won't matter. But that's the lie. The truth is, your voice has the power to heal, to inspire, to change lives, starting with your own. Imagine this. You've kept your thoughts inside for years. They've piled up layer by layer until they form a wall so thick you can hardly remember what it feels like to speak your truth. But one day, you can't hold it in any longer. You speak. It's a small thing at first. Maybe you share a thought with a close friend. But the moment those words leave your mouth, something shifts. A weight lifts. You feel lighter. And for the first time, you realize your voice is not a burden. It's a gift. The moment you speak, you release all the fears that have kept you silent for so long. You release the shame, the judgment, the insecurity. And in that moment, you come alive. But what happens next? What comes after you've taken that first step? It's not easy. There will be moments when doubt creeps back in, when you wonder if it was worth it. But the truth is, every time you speak, you get stronger. The first time is always the hardest. But after that, each word, each sentence, each conversation becomes a building block that strengthens your confidence. Now, here's the hard truth. The fear of speaking doesn't magically disappear just because you've taken that first step. The fear doesn't go away. It gets quieter. It gets smaller. But it's still there, lingering in the background. And that's okay. Fear is part of the process. But here's the key. Fear only has power over you when you let it control you. Take a moment and think about the last time you wanted to speak up, but didn't. What stopped you? Was it fear of what others would think? Or was it the fear of making a mistake, of not being good enough? Let's be real for a second. We're all afraid of looking foolish. But here's the thing. Looking foolish is better than never speaking up at all. The risk of making a mistake, of failing, of being laughed at, it's nothing compared to the regret you'll feel when you look back and realize that you never said what needed to be said. That's the real tragedy. Not the mistakes you make when you speak, but the ones you never get the chance to make. So, how do you quiet that fear and take control? How do you speak up even when every part of you is telling you to stay silent? The answer is simple, but it requires practice. Shift your focus. Stop thinking about yourself and start thinking about the impact your words can have on others. Every time you speak, you give someone else permission to do the same. Every time you own your voice, you give others the courage to do the same. Your words, no matter how small, can inspire someone else to take action, to believe in themselves, to speak up and make a difference. This is bigger than you. This is about the ripple effect of your words. When you speak, you ignite change. You plant seeds that grow into something greater than you could ever imagine. Think about the people in your life who inspire you, the ones who have the courage to speak up, who share their truth with the world. What is it about them that makes you listen? It's not just their words. It's the energy behind them. It's the authenticity, the conviction, the power that comes from knowing they are speaking from the heart. When you speak up, you are taking ownership of your life. You are saying, I matter, my voice matters, and I have the right to be heard. Imagine what your life could look like if you fully embraced this power. If you spoke up every time something mattered, every time you had something to say, without hesitation. How would your relationships change? Your career? Your sense of self-worth? When you own your voice, you unlock the door to your full potential. You stop shrinking. You stop holding back. And you start stepping into your purpose with confidence and clarity. Here's the truth. Speaking up doesn't just change your world. It changes the world around you. But here's the catch. You can't wait for the perfect moment. There will never be a perfect time. There will never be a time when fear isn't there, when doubts aren't lingering. The only way to overcome them is to speak anyway. To take that step, no matter how small, and let your voice be heard. It starts with one word, one sentence, one conversation, and it continues, building momentum as you take ownership of your voice. But the real question is, will you take that first step? Will you speak up, even when it's hard, even when you're afraid? That's the challenge before you. And I promise you this, if you do, everything in your life will change. The world is waiting for your voice. Don't let fear silence you any longer. Speak up, own your voice, and change your life and the lives of others in ways you can't even imagine. So, what's the next step for you? How will you start owning your voice today? It could be as simple as speaking your truth in a conversation with a friend, or it could be something bigger, like stepping into a leadership role. But one thing for sure, the world is waiting to hear what you have to say. Now go ahead, speak up. Your voice is the most powerful tool you have, and it's time to start using it. Imagine for a moment, standing on the edge of a cliff. The wind is fierce, the view breathtaking, but your heart is pounding in your chest, and your mind is filled with doubt. Below you is the unknown, a vast, untapped potential waiting for you to take the leap. But there's something holding you back. You want to jump, but that voice in your head says, what if I fall? What if I fail? You hesitate, and with each passing second, the voice grows louder, telling you to stay safe, to stay where it's comfortable. But here's the secret. The biggest risk is not jumping. It's standing there, paralyzed by fear, afraid of what might happen if you take the leap. And just like that, the same applies to your voice. The longer you stay silent, the harder it becomes to speak. And the more you suppress your voice, the more power you give to fear. So, what if you just let go? What if you trusted yourself enough to speak, to take that first step, to jump into the unknown with your voice leading the way? Let's face it, fear of judgment is one of the most powerful forces keeping us silent. We all fear what others will think of us, and the idea of being criticized or rejected often keeps us from speaking at all. But here's the twist. Most people are too busy worrying about their own lives to pay attention to yours. Think about it. When was the last time you judged someone else for speaking up, for expressing themselves? More often than not, we admire the courage it takes to speak up, even if we don't agree with what's being said. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to share your thoughts and feelings openly, you give others permission to do the same. You become a beacon for others who are struggling with the same fears. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real, being authentic. When you speak from the heart, when you speak with sincerity, you open the door for others to do the same. You create a ripple effect that spreads out far beyond what you can see. Now, think about the last time you heard someone speak with true conviction. It might have been a leader, a mentor, or even a friend. How did it feel to hear them speak so confidently? Did it inspire you? Didn't it make you believe in them? Even more, believe that their words had value? Now, imagine that you could be that person. Imagine your words having that same impact. Imagine speaking with such confidence, such authority, that people stop and listen. You can be that person. But you have to start by believing in your own words. You have to trust that what you have to say matters. But how do you get there? How do you shift from silence to owning your voice with confidence? The key to overcoming your fear of judgment is simple, but it requires consistent effort. You have to practice. Speaking up is not a one-time thing. It's a habit. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. You'll start speaking up in small ways first, sharing your thoughts in a meeting, speaking your truth to a friend, expressing your feelings honestly. And with each small victory, you'll gain more confidence. You'll start to feel like the person who can speak up when it matters most. But it's a process. It's not instantaneous. The truth is, no one starts out as an expert, but the more you step into the discomfort of speaking up, the more comfortable it becomes. It's like building a muscle. At first, it's hard. You feel awkward, unsure, exposed. But as you keep pushing yourself, you grow stronger. And then one day, you'll find yourself speaking up without hesitation. Your words will flow effortlessly. The fear will be there, yes, but will no longer have control over you. You will have control over your voice, and it will be unstoppable. I want to pause for a moment and remind you of something important. Your words have power. Every time you speak, you influence the world around you. You don't just influence the people you're speaking to. You influence the way you see yourself. When you speak, you reaffirm your worth. You remind yourself that you matter, that your voice has value. And in doing so, you teach others how to value their own voices. Your words ripple out into the world, touching others in ways you may never fully understand. Imagine the impact you could have if you spoke up every time you had something to say. Imagine how many people you could inspire, how many lives you could change. But it starts with you. You have to take that first step. You have to make the decision that your voice matters. And when you do, you create a legacy of speaking up, of owning your truth, of inspiring others to do the same. Here's what happens when you stop holding back. You start showing up as your full self. You no longer hide behind the fear of judgment or rejection. You stop worrying about whether people like you or agree with you. And instead, you focus on what you're here to do. To speak your truth, to live authentically, and to make a difference. And that's where the magic happens. Because the moment you stop worrying about what others think is the moment you start truly living. So ask yourself, what's been holding you back? What have you been afraid to say? And what would happen if you spoke up right now? Now, it's time to make the decision. Will you speak up today? Will you let go of the fear, the doubt, the insecurities that have kept you silent for so long? Will you finally own your voice and step into the person you're meant to be? The choice is yours. But here's the secret. You can't wait for the perfect moment. You can't wait for fear to disappear, for the doubts to vanish, for the perfect conditions. The time to speak is now. The time to own your voice is right this very moment. And when you do, I promise you this, everything will change. You will change. So I leave you with this challenge. The next time you feel that fear creeping in, speak anyway. Take that first step, even if your voice shakes. Speak from the heart. Speak from your truth. Don't let fear control you anymore. Speak up, own your voice, and let the world hear it. And when you do, just know this, you're not alone. Every time you speak, you give others the courage to speak as well. Together, we can change the world, one voice at a time. There comes a moment in every person's life when they can no longer stay silent. The weight of unspoken words becomes too heavy to bear. The ache of unrealized dreams, the frustration of hidden truths, they start to chip away at you, piece by piece. And then, one day, you reach the tipping point. You can either continue to live in silence, trapped by fear, or you can take a leap, step into the unknown, and let your voice be heard. But here's the truth. The only thing standing between you and your destiny is a decision to speak up. Once you make that decision, once you take that first step, something amazing happens. The world begins to shift. You begin to shift. And that shift starts to propel you forward in ways you never imagined. But it's not just about speaking. It's about owning your voice. It's about claiming the power within you and stepping fully into the person you were always meant to be. Have you ever experienced the freedom that comes with being completely honest? The release that comes when you stop holding back, stop pretending, and just speak your truth? There's an unmatched power in that freedom. When you speak with authenticity, you're not just giving words to your thoughts. You're giving voice to your soul. You're saying, this is me, this is who I am, and I'm proud of it. And guess what? The moment you claim that truth, the world can't help but listen. There's a magnetic quality to authenticity. People are drawn to it. They want to hear what you have to say. Why? Because they can feel the power behind it. They can sense the integrity, the honesty, the realness in your words. And when you speak your truth, you give others permission to do the same. This is the kind of freedom that only comes from owning your voice. The freedom to express yourself without fear. The freedom to be who you truly are, unapologetically. And once you taste this freedom, you'll never want to go back. The power of your voice doesn't stop with you. Once you start speaking, once you start owning your voice, you begin to inspire others to do the same. Imagine the ripple effect of your words. Each time you speak up, you create a wave that touches someone else. Someone who has been holding back. Someone who has been too afraid to speak. Sees your courage and feels empowered. Your voice becomes a spark that lights a fire in others. But this doesn't just happen on a grand scale. It happens in the everyday moments. The conversations with friends, the discussions at work, the exchanges with family. Every time you speak, you set an example of how to live authentically. You give others the courage to speak their truths, to own their voices. And together, you all create a world where silence is no longer the norm, where speaking up is celebrated. The truth is, every time you speak, you're not just changing your life, you're changing the world. You are creating a legacy, and that legacy is one of courage, authenticity, and empowerment. You are leaving a mark on the people you touch, on the lives you affect, and on the world that needs your voice. Imagine looking back years from now and seeing how far you've come. The timid person who once feared speaking up is now transformed into someone who speaks with power, confidence, and purpose. The things you once hesitated to say, you now say with ease. The dreams you once kept hidden, you now share freely with others. And as you do, you'll see how much your life has changed. Your relationships will deepen. Your career will thrive. And most importantly, you will have the satisfaction of knowing that you live a life that was true to yourself, that you showed up and made a difference with every word you spoke. This is a legacy you create when you own your voice. And the best part? You're only getting started. I want to take a moment to ask you this. What will your life look like if you truly own your voice? What if you could speak up every time it mattered? What if you stopped holding back and started sharing your truth with the world without fear of judgment, without hesitation? I promise you this. Once you make that decision, your life will never be the same. The person you were before will become a distant memory, and the person you're becoming, the person who owns their voice, will be unstoppable. It's not just about speaking. It's about living. Living with confidence. Living with purpose. Living in alignment with who you truly are. And in that space, there is nothing you cannot achieve. So, I leave you with one final question. Are you ready to speak up? Are you ready to stop hiding behind fear? To stop letting self-doubt keep you silent? Are you ready to own your voice and take control of your destiny? The world is waiting to hear what you have to say. Your voice, your words, your story, they all matter. And it's time for you to step into your power and share them. You are worthy of being heard. Your voice is powerful. Your words can change everything. But it all starts with one decision. One choice to speak up. One choice to own your voice. So go ahead, speak. The world is ready for you.